All right, on this Taxer show, we're going to talk about a romance scam that started with a Scrabble game that took a woman for a lot of her money and ended up having her a $500,000 IRS debt and how she got out of it. I want to talk about why talking to the IRS, the dangers of talking to the IRS yourself, and how it can be a massive mistake and all the problems it can cause. We're going to talk about how the IRS can seize your house, how they auction off, and how to avoid it so that you don't lose a ton of money and your home. And we're going to talk about the strategy that Bill Fritton, the back tax expert, helped to save a woman $60,000 in penalties and protect her remaining assets instead of letting the IRS take everything. Folks, that we tell these stories not just to scare you, because you need to be a little scared, but so you can know that there is a solution out there and take action, because the taxes are one of the biggest problems that people have, or one of the biggest opportunities. Join us on this taxless show. All right, let's get started. You want to know one way to save thousands of dollars, put just extra thousands of dollars in your pocket? It's super simple. Every week, we're going to send you a tip from the Taxless Show when you sign up for our newsletter. Go to taxless.show, or if you're on YouTube, just look below for a link to sign up for the newsletter. We're going to send you a tax tip every week. That's simple, easy to do, alternative investment advice, possible Q&As with tax experts. Plus, every month, we're going to give away a super cool I Hate Taxes t-shirt. Some version of that. But join us on the Taxless newsletter to make sure you don't miss a single Taxless episode. You see a lot of crazy stories, don't you?
Very crazy, yes. Some really crazy stuff.
And it's amazing. And like we talked about in the first episode, taxes are the basic expense that we have in our lifetime.
Yep.
It's crazy to think that.
Welcome to the United States.
I mean, it's pretty much around the world.
It's true. Around the world, there are tax rates higher than us.
Yeah, and you got to pay taxes, and you got to, I have a friend who's in Bali. He doesn't pay almost any tax, but then if he wants to go to the hospital, he has to hop in a helicopter and pay for it. And if the road washes out, he has to hire people to come and pay for it.
Right, because there's no roads.
No roads, and everything you want to do, you got to hire people to pay for it.
Right.
So it comes out of somewhere. But tell us a little bit about your friend here.
So I had this is a very sad story. I had a woman, a single woman, come to me. All her kids were grown, mid-60s. She was retired, working part-time at a medical office as a nurse, but approaching 70 years old. She wanted to retire for good. And she did have a fairly nice retirement plan that she could have tapped into, but unfortunately she got scammed. This poor lady was playing online, I believe it was online Scrabble. I guess there's these, I don't do it, so I'm not very familiar. But you have a screen name and you go online and play Scrabble or something of that nature, and it's a group of people that are playing. And she met up with a stranger, and he lured her in through a romantically from afar.
Yeah.
And claimed he worked for the CIA, could not reveal his real identity, but over several months.
No flags there.
No flags, zero flags. But she was lonely. All her kids were out of the house.
Yeah.
She was divorced, recently divorced. He seemed like a nice guy, trustworthy, and he spent months building up this trust, and eventually started feeding her stories where he needed money because he was in the CIA and had been, I guess, cut off from the CIA because he was so far undercover they couldn't bring him back from under. I don't know how it all works, but claimed that he was in Germany and Italy and Southeast Asia, and from get to one place to other, and to get his paperwork in order, he needed money. And so this poor woman drained her entire $500,000 retirement account. Never paid taxes on it because she was unaware, and was sending this person or group of people through this scam boxes of cash all throughout the world. And eventually it was gone. She did not file her tax return. Eventually the IRS said, this year you took $500,000 out of your retirement account. You didn't file a tax return. We need this tax return. She ended up owing close to $300,000 in taxes between penalties, interest, so on and so forth. And being that she was single, she was on Social Security, she also got a pension, but she was also working, and her house was paid off. The IRS said, borrow against the house and pay us. Her credit wasn't great.
Oh my gosh.
She wanted to retire, so she didn't want to take out, a $400,000 loan that she'd have a tough time paying. At the time, the mortgage payment with, property taxes and everything else would have been close to $5,000 a month. The IRS said, pay us or we're going to seize the house. Never a good thing.
No.
So she was obviously a wreck. So we tried as best we could to help her. We took her financial statement, figured out, bought her a lot of time with the IRS, got all her taxes caught up, got her on the right path. She just owed this 1 year, fortunately. But through working with her, we finally figured out, okay, I think the best thing for you to do is sell the house, okay? You can go rent somewhere, certainly much less than $5,000 a month. You're getting older, keeping up the house is hard anyways, and this will actually get you, at least some nest egg going forward, better than no nest egg. Because what people don't realize is if the IRS does seize and sell your house, if your house is worth $500,000, they're not going to sell it for $500,000.
No, it's going to one of those auctions, right?
Yeah, it's going to go to an auction, and you'll be lucky to get 50% on it.
Jeez.
And in her case, that wouldn't even have paid the full liability.
Oh my God.
Given her story, though, we were able to negotiate a penalty abatement for her, which did save her close to $60,000. So that was at least a small positive. We were able to save her close to $60,000 off the bill. But we did buy her the time for her to fix up her house so she could get the most money out of it, hold the IRS off, and not pay them anything in the interim through various appeals and so on and so forth, and convincing them that, hey, just give us some time, let her fix up the house. In her case, we were actually able to find her a realtor who would front her the money because she didn't have the cash to do all the necessary. She basically had to redo a kitchen and a bathroom because she didn't have the money, and it had been so long since she had done any upgrades, needed a new roof, etc. Through my network, I was able to find her a realtor who would up front and get contractors to front her the money, all be paid at closing. And she actually ended up loving the place she moved to. So in the end, it worked out okay, if you could term that okay.
Yeah.
But she was able to move on with her life and not have anything bad happen to her in the interim.
Yeah.
And she was grateful. It wasn't an ideal situation in any way, shape, or form, but in the end, she was able to resolve a really bad situation in I would say, an okay manner.
Well, it's interesting because I think, I've dealt with attorneys as clients. I haven't been their client, but in a lot of these situations where bad things happen to them, they're like, I'll just go talk to the IRS, right? And I'll just explain my situation, and they'll be fine with it.
No, that doesn't happen. The IRS they have a job. It's to collect the money. What your special circumstance is, no matter how mad, they still have to collect the money. And the rank and file people that you talk to do not have the decision-making power to help you in any way, shape, or form. Here's what they are allowed to do. And if you owe them money, here are the parameters, and we can either work with you or we can't work with you. In her case, if you can't afford to pay them anything on a monthly basis in a timely enough way to get the liability taken care of, and you have $500,000 equity sitting in a property, get a loan or sell the house.
Yeah.
Those are your options. If you don't do that or are unwilling to do that, then eventually we will take it and we will get the debt paid. Now there are special circumstances. For example, if she had been, if she was infirm or, suffering dementia or, very elderly, and didn't have the wherewithal, then there are special circumstances where you can work with them and say, listen, the woman's 90 years old. Okay, her only income is Social Security. Yeah. This house is paid for. She can't afford to move anywhere else. How about we just, when push comes to shove, eventually, depending on how much statute is left, you're going to get your money when the house eventually sells. But right now, it would put her in a hardship to force her out of her house.
Gotcha. If let's say this situation happened, but it wasn't a scam, and someone's like, I need the money for my retirement account. Mm-hmm. What can someone do to prevent this from happening?
If you can work out a plan without having to touch the retirement account, they will work with you. Okay, you can negotiate with them. It really, and this is where, having somebody who knows what they're doing and has been doing it a long time can tell up front what kind of issues you're going to have. If you call me and say I owe them, $75,000 and I want a payment agreement to pay them off over 10 years and I can only afford to pay them, let's say the number's higher. Let's say it's $150,000. All right, and I can't pay them. I can only afford to pay them $500 a month on a $150,000 liability. It's not going to be paid in the statute. That's going to create a problem in the negotiations because the IRS is going to see you have assets you can tap into to pay them. Uh-huh. And they are not going to allow you to keep those assets and not pay them. So that's where you have to apply different strategies to try to protect as much of those assets as possible.
Gotcha. Well, it's sad, but it happens, and this is where you need to be calling.
It happens to a lot of people, unfortunately. Yeah. So people need to understand that you're not alone.
And don't be embarrassed.
Yeah, whether it's me or somebody else, if you don't know what you're doing or scared or you can't afford to spend 3 hours a day on the phone with the IRS, or feel as though you're getting bullied when you call the IRS and getting forced into unrealistic plans, whether it be me or somebody else, call somebody and get the help you need, and know you're not alone. There are a lot of people out there like you.
And call you is how much?
Nothing. Doesn't cost anything to call me. I'll give you, anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes of my time. We'll go over the situation. If I think I can help you, I'll outline kind of where I think I see everything going, and then you can decide from there whether or not you want to use us. If I think you don't need us, then I will tell you, this case is kind of easy. Here's what you need to do. And if you run into a problem after you try to do that, let me know. But I think you can do it yourself, and I'll tell you that up front.
Awesome. So yeah, backtaxexpert.com. We'll put a link in the show notes. Link to some helpful videos Bill has as well if you're watching this on YouTube. Well, Bill, thanks for being on the Taxless Show.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
And thank you all for watching us. It's Benign Garlic from Garlic Studios for the Taxless Show. If you're behind on your taxes, you're not alone, but it can be scary, and the wrong advice can really cost you. But the right advice can get that out of your hair, and you can move on. What you need to do is find a local certified tax expert, and you can find that at besttaxhelp.org. On this website, you'll be able to find local tax experts near you, compare them, see their rates, and figure out what the best next steps for you before you ever have to talk to anyone and never have to talk to the IRS again. besttaxhelp.org.